evening and welcome aboard to the Podium. Show every single Monday from 10 p.m. to midnight where we preview and review an event out of motorsport, local scene, African scene, as well as on the international scene on this 26th day of January 2026. Only hoping that everything has shifted your way. From the last time we did better still. Tumusaba temere kumpenda tusomoko obuzibu obwo tulivinga obulamu obuli better. The Podium on Fufa TV no kuwa 2.1 Fafama. Zone ziri under the Fufa Media Services. Juso wango sanga no Fufa Complex plot 879 Albert Cook Road. Mengo Monday to Friday sawa sat paka saa 10 then of course ne ku Saturday sawa sat paka saa 9. Cho kwa nchita kumpeoza 2.1 Fafama ne ku TV Fufa TV zone ziri under the Fufa Media Services. Nja kuwanga chikwa ichita ko birenga bikutambulia maida tsanzo kuwalanga business yo. Bija kubanga bitambulira maidali sana. Kale nze kesho manza program eno so kubanga ojirawo nawo sinzire kuba across the entire world ngokosa the Fufa Media app. You so kubanga downloading ku App Store yo ba mu Play Store yo. We definitely be able to watch Fufa TV. No kuliza 1.1 Fafama. Of course the Podium ne programs zinaezibera ku Fufa TV ne ku 1.1 Fafama app. In options bidi ya radio ne ya TV, so you can watch as well as listen into the radio as well as watch the TV. When I was sinziro kubango across the entire world. Kalenza kesho mwanza program eno nina the panel which was there last week. Aaron Samba ne Job Brewer. Pleasure having you guys. Singa discussions emanazo off air. Muzetane kumpeo. Abalabi abawuliriza ne banyumirwa nnyo kubanga byemusi okunyumya nnyo wana tembire nnyo kumpeo. Kalinze lero ngenda bibagamba abala
kuba tukuba tuwumba
akoba kale kabasaba berenga ababuza ko ya lot regarding the world of motorsport is concerned. Tanzania babadde ne NRC yawe eyokutano Guru Nanak yabadde galawo championship ya 2025 yawanguddwa Samanvora ne Dustalok, of course. Just met Chana ne Ravi Soni. Ravi Chana rather, as well as
Oksatu Diabadani.
Kale. Then of course tuja hogera ko ne ku rafuna ko mugenya for radio just Muna Singh Jr. Gero ko in first hour ya fetu muise oko a lot happening in the world of motorsport in Zambia. Jakuwa tubulia motorsport biography ye atuse muko how motorsport is Zambia badeni awards gara yawe producer yetu kubifana nyebyo massive na ye that and more. Of course the receive at out of the 14 events wasigade 13 MONTE-CARLO yawe de nga oli Olivia Solberg because those so name were the right prediction last week na gamba Olivia Solberg na wangula rally yo ngoli mu oje unosima yazungira mutiyeri those kale mubuze ko twana batizajo
tukende bisuma tugendera abatula bamwe natubala msizanyo mwe bakubira ku Fufa Media Fufa TV Fufa FM nga twogera twaweza kubikwatagana ne motorsport tusanyuka nnyo nti mutwala kadde ne mutuwuliriza oba muri awo naffe ku online ne mutu wayo bu update oba bu message and there ne tugendera okwo ne tubasiima nnyo era tubagaza a nice week.
Abantu baba na ku Fufa TV amanya ne Dobozo Nsamba era sanyu jerere bwe fisawa akadde nembera ko wana ntogera kunganya kusinga okwagalanga fugo mdoka zempaka twebaza management ya Fufa Media Services tu akisakano tupira ko kumpeozayo togere kumuzanya kusinga okwagala njozayo za abo bonna abafunye ebirungi mu bije tukubya amabega ate yasirema unakuwalira wamu namwe abafunye obuzibu mu bije tukubyemu amabega tusaba Mukama abagumye abasobola bayisa mu kaseera ke mwitamu tumanyi Mukama Katonda yakola yakiriza byonna okubaawo, so Mukama Katonda mulungi wiki yange masavu merere yabadde
kale producer ngamanti yomgonya fe tumufunye ndoza katumufunye tuwerenga tuwaya mukona ye then ovanye tujja kudda mu studio kasana ge babuzaako tuwerenga tupikingira awo kale on the line is just a Singh, sorry, Muna Singh Jr. Today's guest and okay, good evening Muna, pleasure hosting you and say hello to our dear viewers and listeners.
Even if you can hear me.
How is Zambia? How is I don't know which part of Zambia are you in? Lusaka? Are you in where exactly?
I'm actually in Lusaka. I stay in Lusaka. the capital of Zambia.
So how is the weather? Happy New Year. How is everything that side?
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too. The weather is fine. It's rainy on this side now until probably the end of February, March. So every night, obviously, we have the rains. It's not like Uganda where it's sunny and then all of a sudden the rain comes. Here
Yes.
we have water.
So you guys have it's raining. It's raining now. For us, we're having the sun. You guys sunshine. You guys are having it's rain. So February and March, it's again the sunshine. You guys.
Yeah, then our summer is usually after September, October. That's our summer. We're going to winter, which is May, June, after the rains.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us, Sparing Time, and joining us. It's really lovely to hear your voice all the way from Lusaka. Okay, for the betterment of our dear listeners and viewers, you've been here in Kampala in 2015, 2016. Yeah, 2016, we were in your quest for the ARC. Run us through your motorsport biography and what really inspired you. If someone gets to know about Mona, people should know about Mona Singh, apart from seeing in the cockpit. What really inspired you joining the sport and the rest that comes along with your motorsporting biography?
I think many people know that I'm not the first Singh that was involved in rallying. Rallying has run down our family from Satwan Singh, my grandfather Guru Singh, Satwan's brother, and obviously my father, my uncles, my brother. It's just basically run down the family. And when we're growing up, we've always watched how you would call them heroes, our fathers and grandfathers racing, and we obviously wanted to be like them, and that's how we decided to participate in motorsport as well. And it's in the blood as we speak.
Okay, then in terms of course, given that motorsporting biography, that the family background inspiring to join the sport, what was your first rallying car? When did you first test the waters in the cockpit?
Okay, so let me just say, I first started driving cars when I was 9 years old. My grandfather taught me on the farm. And then 12, 13 years old, I started doing 4x4 championships here in a Land Cruiser with my grandfather. And my car, I got passed down from my brother. We both drove VW from when we started rallying in the beginning. So a VW Golf, I think it was a Golf 4 or Golf 3, a Golf 3 actually. We modified a few parts from a Golf 4 so that we can make it a bit more reliable. So that's where we started, as a front-wheel drive.
From the Golf 4? From the Golf 3, which was modified to a Golf 4, which other cars have you driven?
Yeah, then from there we drove a GC8 for 1-2 rallies before we acquired the N10 from, ex-Conrad Rottenbach. It belonged to Jamie White, and that's the name KT. We acquired that car from them. I won my first championship with that car here in Zambia 2015, I think. And then obviously you guys know I took the car from Desh. After we upgraded from the N10, we got Desh's car from Uganda. I came personally to come and test it and pick it up. And that won me the next 3 championships, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, obviously after a few years after that, we got rid of it.
Then let's talk about still on the family. We in 2023 we saw the news, of course, the demise of Mzee. God rest his soul in peace. How an inspiration was he to you guys, or up to now is he in motorsport in Zambia?
Yes, he was a big inspiration, and he very hardworking. If he wants to do something, he'll make sure he does it. It doesn't matter what comes in his way. He makes sure he pulls through with whatever he wants to do with motorsport. And motorsport was obviously a big part of his life. It was, apart from driving, it was also organizing. And then he went obviously through FIA. He was part of the FIA before he slowed down and pulled back away from FIA. And then obviously, yeah, things took a bit of a turn for the worse, and yeah, he's in a better place right now.
Then let's get into the competition. You've won several events in Zambia. The levels of competition that side, you've been here in Uganda before in 2016 competing on the ARC. Just a SINGH tried as well in the ARC as well in 20. I remember that the battle you had with Chate, the championship which was won by Chate in 2015. If you compare, do your competition levels at home at that time, were they of an advantage to you coming on in your quest for the ARC in 2016, which was won by Smith?
I'd say the competition here in Zambia is very stiff. We have a lot of good drivers. Unfortunately, some of the drivers who are very good don't have very good financial backing. We don't have the machines that guys from East Africa have. But what I must say is that our routes here are completely different to the routes in Uganda, completely different to the routes in South. So if you want to say competition, like for me coming there, I've only been to Uganda once. Yeah, it's only been once. Burundi, I've been twice. But the roads in Burundi and Uganda, very fast through villages, fast roads, you don't get that here. So as we come that side, even though I've got good experience of driving the car, I still have to learn your guys' roads. I'm sure if you speak to the Ugandan drivers who have come here, they'll tell you the same thing, that the roads are completely different. And when you come here in our territory, we are used to these roads, whereas the Ugandan drivers need to take the time to practice and experience our roads before they can even start to push the limits.
You're saying that our terrain, you've competed in Burundi twice, here once. The issue of terrain is of course, it has an advantage. If a person leaves Uganda and comes competes in Zambia, it's an advantage to you guys who are that side. When you guys leave that side and come and compete this side in Kampala, it's again an advantage to locals this side. But again, you guys come and put up a very good performance. Does that come along with the experience you've had, the seat time you've had in the car?
Yeah, well, like I said, we know our car, we know our driving, but we don't know exactly, okay, we haven't perfected our skills in making the notes in Uganda. Ugandan roads, like I said, are very different. They're very fast. Similar to Tanzania. Tanzania also have, depending on where you're racing in Tanzania, you are very fast through narrow, rough roads. You guys would say it's not rough, but for us it's rough because here our rough is not compared to the rough that you get that side. So again, it's all just based down on how you can perfect your notes, build confidence with the driver and the navigator, and then you build confidence because obviously the car setup is different. You're doing more higher speeds, a bit more rougher roads. You have to set the suspension a bit more different. And once you start to build confidence in the car and you have confidence in the navigator with the notes that you've created, then you start to go faster and faster. And I'm sure my day when I was racing in Uganda, I remember being a bit mobile after we perfected a bit on the notes and we changed a few settings in the car, and I could see my times were getting better and I started to close in. The only guy I couldn't catch, I think that time was, I don't know if Manvir was still there, or I think Hassan Alwi won the same rally when we were there. But I was starting to close in on the leaders with the times that I was doing.
To your question on the ARC, you did make an attempt in 2016. It didn't go your way. What really happened? And give us an experience that you did manage to traverse the countries that made up the ARC calendar that year.
Blame myself for the year of 2016 when we tried to do the ARC. I was, how would you say, premature. All I wanted to do was win rallies. I didn't really focus on winning the championship. And if you notice the rallies we did compared, obviously we were racing with Don Smith. In Tanzania, we beat him 18 minutes. In Zambia, we beat him 20 minutes. Tanzania, we DNF'd because I think we hit a culvert or something in the second stage. In Uganda, it was just unfortunate that our tank, which is a bag tank, it wasn't a metal tank that we have in the rally cars, that started leaking petrol and we actually had to retire in service park because there was no other option of repairing the tank. In Rwanda, we finished second again, a good 15-20 minutes ahead of Don Smith. So it's not like we didn't have the pace, but I just wasn't using my brains to just for winning the rally or coming in the podium, but just finishing and getting the points. So I would say it's all the blame is on me for 2016.
We had Vora who won yesterday's event in over the weekend's event, which was in Tanzania. We did host him after Pearl of Africa. I think it was his 9th event when he did come here. He talked about he was leading the rally and he dropped out, calling it inexperience. So after having done a reflection of what happened in 2016, you've not made another attempt on the ARC now until, if you get back, until a bit rusty to kind of try to win the championship?
I think with the experience that I have now and a bit more level-headed and mature mind, I could probably come and try to compete. I mean, I probably still have rust too. I'll have rust with me, but with a few rallies that I'll do, I could probably still compete. I'm not gonna make my head big. I can compete. I will probably be able to compete, but unfortunately, financially on our side, we are not able to acquire R5 or WRC2 car that will be able to compete with the cars out there, like what Saman is using. And our new Africa champion, congrats to the Ugandan guys. They brought the trophy back to Uganda. But yeah, Yasin is also doing very well with his car. Again, he needed to acquire a WRC2 car for him to even compete against these guys. And me driving the GC8 or N10, N12, N16 is completely no comparison between a WRC2 car and these cars that we're using, the Group N's.
Without acquiring the R5, even the R3, because we've seen Nikhil Sachanya compete in the R3, we won't see you on to get back on the African quest for the title.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. The question.
The N10, N12, N14, N16 can't really match the pace of the R5s. You've just given an example of Yasin Nasser, previously driving the GVB, then finally upgrading to the R5 and finally winning the ARC. That means without you acquiring that car, you won't on the continent vying for the championship, because for the Group N's, you have the ARC2, which I think Prince Nyerere in Tanzania. We even have our own Mike Mukola as well. They have tried to compete on that championship. The N14 and the 16 can compete as well. Or you want the grand trophy of the big one?
No, they can, for sure. WRC, I mean, you're saying there's that category with the Group N's. We can compete, I hope. I'm sure I could still come through. I've been thinking of it to just make my way, even if it is with the GC8 that we call it the GC10. I'm sure you've heard about it. But it's pretty competitive against really the N16s, but the N12s, N10s, the car is pretty decent. The only good thing with how we built this car is the reliability is better than the N16, and also power to weight ratio is slightly better on than the N16. The N16 is a bit heavy, but you can't compare the N16 with the traction that we have on this car. But if you want to say financially, you'd rather go this route now, which is the GC10 route. Hopefully, I'm hoping maybe this year, even if we'll try to make our way down, not down, up Africa and come and meet you guys again.
Have a lot in Kampala. We have different battles about those Subarus. Now, given the fact that you've driven Subarus throughout, you can help us settle some of these scores here. One of those ones is, what's the difference between the N8 and the N10? Okay, let's start from the GC8. From the GC8, or even version 6. Help us to get those differences until you get up to the N16. Probably at the end of this show, people will have scores would have been settled.
Yeah, I mean, the GC8 obviously is an older version than the N10s or N8s. The GC8 never used to come with DCCD, which is the diff controller. You can adjust the power front and rear. And also the VVTi sensors to adjust. You can advance and retard timing with the computer. The GC8s never used to come with those, the older modeled ones. And then when you go to the N8, you had the VVTIs, but you didn't have DCCD. the later model, I don't know if you remember, there used to be a ProDrive. ProDrive used to make a GC8. I don't know if you remember my Satwan's rally car, the GC8. It used to have a diff controller. So the last model of the GC8 came out with diff controllers, and then the N8 came without a diff controller, but it had VVTi, so you can adjust variable. It's called variable valve timing. And then obviously the N10 came now, which was DCCD and variable valve, but just for the intake. The N16s that came out now, or the GVBs, they had variable valve timing for all 4 camshafts, because the Subaru has 4 camshafts, a boxer engine with 2 cylinder heads on the side. So you have variable valve timing, and then you have the DCCD, and with the GVBs, again, you have a separator that controls the CD. It's not just the computer box, but you have the diff controller ECU as well, which gives it a bit more traction, and it's a lot smarter working around the center diff. And that's how it gets a bit more grip than the older models.
Then you've talked the N10. Then of course, there's much talk about there being a thin line between the N14 and the N16. Help us also to differentiate the two.
I think the N14 and N16 are just the same. It's only the GVB, the boot shape, which helped balance the car. So if you notice the N16s or the hatchbacks, like the one I got from Desh, any jump or any dip that you'd hit, you always see the front nose diving. Whereas the GVB with the boot at least helped balance the car a little more. Although you'll never get a perfect balance like how they had on the N12 and the GC8. The balance on those cars were very, very good.
14 and then 16, there's no much difference? Not even a single one?
Not a major difference.
Why throughout your career you've just run us through your biography, you've run us through, of course, driving the Golf and then the Subarus. You've not tested the Evos, and why did you have that final test into the Subarus? Is it because of a family, or it's because you also got adapted so much into the Subarus in comparison to the Evos? Because if you go to their family that does compete that side, Gomez, he has the Evo 9. There's the Evo 9, which they even got from Kampala, from Sebuguzi. Then they have the Evo 10. They had the Evo 10, which he's been here before driving that car as well. You've not really. Why not the? Why haven't you tested the waters in the Evos as well?
I think from young, well, my dad also used to race a lot with Subarus, and he brought us through. His son acquired the N12s, and he put us through the Subarus again. And for us, Subarus, the spare parts that we were allowed to easily access them through Subaru South Africa. Whereas Mitsubishi, you would have to order either from Belgium or Europe. So Mitsubishi is more of a more expensive route. Even though the engine is stronger, they always have an issue with the transfer case and the gearbox and the diff pump. I don't know if you've heard about that. I'm sure you guys have a lot of Mitsubishis that side. I'm sure they'll complain about the same things. They complain about diff pumps, the transfer case, and the gearboxes. And that's one thing with Subaru where we don't have issues. Our center diff never gives us issues. The gearbox will last us a lifetime. And the only issue we have is the engine. And that's why I'm saying that I want the car. I want to have a car which has got the Subaru with the engine of the 10. That would be a very good.
Okay, so it's about availability of spare parts. Otherwise, if they're available, we would have tested the waters in the Mitsubishi as well.
Yes, for sure. It's just a more expensive car to run.
Okay. Let's talk about the arrivals of the R5s onto the African continent. We're seeing many of them in Uganda. We have one of Yasin, one of Jas Mangat. Go down to Kenya, Karan Patel, Vora, Jasmet Chana. Go to Tanzania, you have Ahmed Huel as well. So a couple of them on the African continent. And if you talk about, God willing, if the resources are available, you can also test the waters in the R5. In Kampala, you have the Ford, you have the Hyundai. In Kenya, there is the Skoda, there's the Ford, there's one of the Hyundai of Konobio. In Tanzania, there's a Yaris. So if you're to make that decision of acquiring the R5, which type would you go for, and what reasons do you have for that?
I think, well, we've met Manvir a lot of times when he came here with his Skoda, and it's just proved reliable. Every time he came, he had no issues, and that obviously it raises eyebrows to say, okay, if 4 times he's come here, and not one problem. I think if R5, I'd probably go the Skoda route. I don't know too much about the new one which has come out, which Ahmed has acquired now. I know Toyota are very good with building cars, but because of the history with what Manvir has built, I'd rather go with the Skoda route.
Okay, then let's talk about the sport itself in Zambia. You guys are known for, Zambia is a big nation on the African continent in terms of motorsport, but you guys didn't have the RC last year. Any input in that as to why you guys didn't have that one last year?
I think our motorsport association here was in talks with FIA. It just was not making sense, the fees that you have to pay and the guys you have to bring in to run the ARC event. One ARC driver pitch up and compete against himself. I think they've been having discussions. I'm not sure if they've come to conclusions or whether we'll be put back on the ARC or what route we're taking at the moment.
In terms of number of the sport itself, the development of the sport in Zambia, the number you guys had awards, but in Kampala here, we've had our calendars running on 7 events. There's much talk about there's an increment of having 8 events. What's up this year for 2020?
Hello?
In Kampala, we're having, in Uganda, we're having 7 events. Now we're going to have, there's much talk about having 8 events on the calendar for this year. How are you guys going to run the calendar? Because you guys you have lots of motorsporting disciplines that side. There's rallying, there's drifting, there's motocross, there's lots of motorsporting disciplines, and drifting is one of those ones, and drag racing, TT as well, one of those ones that really takes center stage in your motorsport. How is the calendar going to run this year?
Yeah, I think we're still sticking with, I think they do about six rallies in a year. We're just sorting out the dates to make sure that no events are clashing. But we're trying to introduce, I know ZMSA is trying to introduce a lot more of the sprint events. We held one on my farm last year, just to make it a bit more fun, allow more of the grassroots level guys to come and compete. You don't need to necessarily have a rally car to come and compete. So I'm sure you guys have also got sprint events. I'm not sure if you're allowed other cars like Hilux or any standard cars to come and compete. I don't know if you guys' sprint is like that, or is it just rally cars? But we are introducing the sprints now, which allow any person outside to come and compete, even though they don't have a rally car or motorsports. They don't need to necessarily have a rally suit, as long as they have a helmet and a seat belt, they're allowed to go around the track.
I have 2 panelists here. One is Aaron Nsamba, one is Joe Brewer, they're all co-drivers, and they have questions for you. Popin and Joe. Muna is all yours.
Muna, good evening. We happen to have had our competition in 2016. I was in that race where you are in Uganda. But I want to pick your mind a little bit about the ARC. You've just mentioned that, one, currently there's a kind of financial squeeze around the rally circuits, make it a bit difficult to follow around the ARC. In your view, what would you propose as a medium-term arrangement to be able to grow the ARC, seeing that for the last so many years it seems to be losing its allure?
For the ARC.
Given your experience, given the fact that you've tested the waters with the ARC, what can be done to improve it? Because it's the numbers have been coming down, with more so with the coming of the R5 on the continent.
Yes. I was just brainstorming. I was just thinking how it could work, because obviously we also have South Africa, who has fallen off the calendar. We used to have Zimbabwe, who was very big also in motorsports. They also fell off the calendar. We are out. Madagascar also is out. Ivory Coast is out. I was thinking, because the distance from here, obviously, to Kampala is very far, and also above, on top of there's also rallying that's happening that we can't compete in, but it's part of Africa as well. I was thinking, if it's possible, if FIA could probably make a Southern African Championship, and then you make a Northern African Championship, and then maybe one rally a year. We have the champion of champions. So the champions of the Southern Africa and champions of Northern Africa come together for just one event, and basically call it like a champions of champions, and then declare an African champion from there. So you have one event to prove yourself. It will somewhat reduce the costs on traveling 8 times in a year and having to bear so much cost, and still having to live a life knowing that rallying is doesn't pay the bills at home.
It should zone. Say this region, then you have different rounds in those regions, then finally you have one round for the ARC. So you have one host nation hosting that year, and the following year.
A little bit.
Under Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, and Zambia. And for all intents and purposes, Zambia seems to be the farthest away. But a while ago, we looked at the number of WRC2 cars that are available on the continent, but just a couple of them are actually participating in the ARC championship. Would it make sense to downgrade the level of cars that score at the ARC to maybe a group N category, and maybe allow some of these so-called dehomologated vehicles to actually start scoring the ARC to attract more participation?
Yeah, I think that could also be a problem. It could be a solution. It could be. I know FIA won't really agree with that because of safety and non-homologated, and obviously they have their own rules and regulations, but we're just discussing it open and freely here. And it could somewhat make sense, because the same championship that I lost in 2016 was because of a similar issue. We're competing, I'm obviously finishing second or third, first in the rally, and you get Don Smith finishing 15th, but because the guys in between don't score Africa points, Don Smith finishes 15th, but he finishes second in Africa. And honestly, if you want to tell me that that's the Africa champion, I don't really agree with that. So if you're saying that you could allow everyone to enter, if it's possible to have some sort of rules and regulations and allow other cars to participate in ARC as well, even the dehomologated cars, it could throw a few stones in the championship and make it a bit more exciting than just having 1 or 2 cars participating, because those are only cars that are homologated.
Maybe 1 or 2 more. Let's discuss just a little bit of politics, if you don't mind. I think a couple of years ago, there was a bit of a standoff between competitors and the administration. If you don't mind, tell us, what was that about, and how did you resolve that impasse to have a situation that you have right now, where motorsport is still going on?
we had was a bit of tension between the drivers, navigators, and Zambia Motorsport in general. Obviously, we don't have pure proof of the bank details and bank transfers that were the funds that were being received in ZMSA, basically from FIA. Apparently, there was funds that ZMSA was receiving, but the funds were not going to where they were supposed to be going, basically. And yeah, that was basically, we knew that money was coming through. We had information from FIA that money was coming through, but money wasn't being put. Like, just to give an example, I'm not saying it was, but if they say, for instance, they gave money for women in motorsport, we know that nothing happened in Zambia during that year for women in motorsport or for go-karts or for anything that it was supposed to be meant for. And then obviously we just got tired of it, and we came together as drivers and navigators, and we said, this is enough. We want either we have somebody else in power so that we can push this sport in the right direction. And yeah, that was basically the standoff that we had. And we're still trying to sort out the same issues with politics. The thing is that with motorsport, I'm sure everyone knows it, is you don't make money from motorsport. It's just a sport that we love. We try to push it forward and make it bigger so that everybody could enjoy it.
Question is there a feeling from the competitors in Zambia that the federation should be making an input into their participation in the national events, like in form of offering subsidies or some sort of sponsorships in kind or in cash to be able to benefit the competitors directly?
Yeah, I mean, it could help. I'm sure that could help. We are allowed duty-free on the rally cars. I know that we're allowed. So if we bring in rally cars, we don't have to pay duty. Duty, if you really think about it, is nothing compared to actually how much you spend on the rally cars or how much you spend per event, how much you spend running these rallies. And unfortunately, a majority of the population here in Zambia would prefer to watch football than try to push rallying, and the government follows the same route. So you find a lot of effort and all the funds end up being pushed towards football, and then motorsports get left in the deep end. So it's up to us to pick it up, try to find our own sponsorship and push it through. I know motorsports in Uganda is, I don't know if it's equivalent to football or as big as football, but yeah, that's what it is here in Zambia.
We have have you watched any of them since it did come back on the African continent? Safari, since it did come back in Kenya.
This year, it's exciting. I watched it on online, obviously. Jassy went to participate with the car when we still had participated the one before Safari, I think. What did they call it? The candidate event. But yeah, hopefully this year I'm planning on going to watch Safari.
Any experiences that you really crave for? Because this time around, at least you're seeing the P1, what you call the P1 cars. Which team do you support anyway? Toyota, Hyundai, Ford, which team?
I don't really have a team. Thierry Neuville has been my driver for a very long time. Sebastian Ogier is everyone's favorite. He's also a good driver that I like to support. Obviously, Ravampera was one of them that I also like to support, but he's out now. And it seems like Oliver Solberg is coming in with a bang after this last weekend.
You did help us clear the battles of the Subarus. Now help us clear this one between who is the GOAT, the greatest of all time? Is it Ogier? Is it Loeb? The greatest of all time. Who is it? Is it Ogier? Eh? Sorry?
Sebastian Loeb.
It's a difficult one to say. Huh? It's a very difficult one. That one I can't answer. That one they are both GOATs.
You only have one option, Mona. You can't choose. You only have one. You have to pick one. Take a deep breath and measure one.
if I had to pick one, a favorite, I'd say Sebastian Loeb. Although Sebastian Ogier has done it with a lot more different cars. So I think Ogier had it a bit tougher to win the championships. And he's also proved, like last year, he was just doing part-time, and he managed to win the championship doing part-time. So Sebastian Loeb is my favorite, but Sebastian Ogier is also very, very good.
Next one is we saw Leroy Gomez take a break from competing. He came into administration. Leroy Gomez, yeah, is in our Kampala here is the deputy vice president. He's the vice president of motorsport in Zambia. Of what impact has his experience and been added to the development of the sport in Zambia? Because he's so enthusiastic about rallying, given the fact that even Seth is testing the waters in different cars altogether. Given the fact that Leroy Gomez stepped away from competition, is into active competition, is into administration, of what impact has his been in administration had onto motorsport in Zambia?
Sorry, I think I lost you guys' connection for a little bit.
Leroy Gomez stepped away from competing into administration. I'm asking the impact, his impact into the motorsport in Zambia.
Yeah, it's just nice to have a driver part of the committee as well. So at least he can speak for us while he's attending the meetings. Like we've said, motorsport in general in Zambia has not been doing too great the last few years. So Leroy is just trying to pick up the small pieces that there is. We put it together. We tried to combine. So like I said, we're trying to do a lot of sprint events where we can have standard cars compete around a small track. You're not doing too much of a high speed track, and you're combining it with motorbikes and quad bikes, bakkies, Hiluxes, 4x4s, and then you have the rally cars obviously racing in their own categories. Just trying to bring back the guys who have that itchiness in the sport, even though they don't have the rally car to come and compete. And hopefully that will sort of boost up the rally side of things. Because that's what we did before when my dad was alive. We introduced the sprint events. And that's the plan we're doing now. So last year we had 2, I think, and then this year we're planning to introduce a bit more.
You came here in Kampala in 2016. Any memories that can't erase from your mind when you did come to compete in Uganda?
Just bad memories of the fuel leaking from the fuel tank. I just came into service. Everything was fine. I think we were lying second in the rally. And the mechanics just came and said, "Sorry, boss, you just have to park the car." And that was the worst memories. But yeah, I had a good time when we went to, I think the club's name is Governor. I think it's Governor, it's what it's called. They took us there. I don't know if that's where the drivers and navigators meet. We had a very good time. So good memories for Governor. And we were invited to Sham's house, Lato Milk. I spent some time with Hassan Alwi, a very good friend of mine also. We chat sometimes on WhatsApp. But yeah, Uganda is just good memories, a lot of fans, happy fans. And yeah, hopefully soon I'll come there, even if it means to come with my, we call it the Skoro, my GC10. At least we can come and show Uganda that we can still compete with small cars.
Thank you very, very much for sparing time and joining us. And we definitely hope to talk to you in the near future, but we hope to host you live when you come to Kampala. What's the name of that car? Is it called Solo? How did you call it? How did you call it? How did you call it?
Which one? Iniopa.
Okay. Thank you very, very much for sparing time and joining us. And I wish you all the best and good luck in the future. Okay, we have the MONTE-CARLO Jr. from Lusaka, Zambia, and we go in for a short commercial break. We'll come out more of your motorsporting stories. We'll be back from that short commercial break. It's the Podium every single Monday from 10 p.m. to midnight, where we preview and review all the latest in the world of motorsport. So we have the MONTE-CARLO Jr. Joe, Mona rightly says very much in my interview. Why you get the cool issue here? I think you did ask him a question, how best it can improve. I think we've had this discussion about
4 years.
can we zone it? No zoning again, region and then at the end of the game this year Uganda hosting on
the round robin.
Round robin to kumaka champion era situmufuna
to Uganda.
To Uganda na round emu ne shigwa. Ogudako like that, and you either it's a logistical nightmare doing the errors. Nali ne yasin. We also the yasin one. Even twakola ne last year twagenda ku twatwalinga workshop yabo. We talked about it's a logistical nightmare. Okola the errors.
Hosting one of their engineers, Edson, avala the cost of each round. Ngaji comparing the value of a motorcar zetuvuga and a gundi one. Magam rally jetwavuga Rwanda mbu egula akasodekane kaande. So those comparisons ngabo gambe a logistical nightmare. But over the years, of course, momentum ya era de gendefa. Nga since these R5 cars came, nga abazina be batono nate bonna they're not willing to do the ARC. So even if they are there, it is automatic they're going to win. So the competition is not equal in terms of technical equipment. Kati in most cases, it is not worth going to compete for second place. Even before you get to the start line, this car is technically more spare than yours, then you lose that interest. Now that is also on the one hand. Right now, it is East Africa plus Zambia, in my view. Now, the zoning will help. That southern Mukoleyo, Tanzania, Nekirida, joining Zambia, Usanga Zimbabwe might come back into the mix. But also, in my view, but we're increasing the vehicles that can score on the ARC, then we shall have more participants. Perhaps open up other categories for people to score. Go video could RC1, or they're going to RC2, 3, RC2, RC3, and other cars can also come and participate. Kaira, for example, if he's going to compete in this GC8, no government, Bajakuita ARC4 champion if you win. Most likely, Ajaku participating, Osanga na Kenya Abali they might also want to participate. Then Tanzania, same scenario. So those are the thoughts that I want to having at this point in time to see how to revive this ARC.
I think the awarding criteria by FIA for the ARC categories na yo malamu amani somehow udakwesanga anti nza wangu de ARC2
not even part of the occasion. Yes.
Udakugamba nti senior yakwetedde ekikopo n'ekikutwasawo so singa ongamba nti nange nda kusituka ngende uze backstar wadde WRC2 nga we bakola
WRC2.
Yes. So nange ne banga nti WRC2
challenge weri
ojja kutuuka
ba manufacturer
naye ate era kati Banville babadde nti 1 2 3 yo ARC abatutte ARC nga geno lwaki mutwalako mutayita ku podium yonna okitegeera nti kuyita podium yonna manetize kale ndaba nwanye ne sifuna number 1 RC1 I can fight for ARC I can first fight for the podium of ARC1. Ferre tuberayo. Tuyimira basatu nga gundi
ngo bakola F1 ne gundi.
So nakyo kyo ndabanga kimala munya demoralizing abantu okola kiteka mu amani
okusinzira nzente abatayina R5 tomusubira kola ARC muna kubira ku abatayina R5 tamusubira ku bale wojja ne R3 nga olabe ya Nikel. You can't compete. Nalabako mu 20 championship Gomez ya wangula kwetwale Rwanda. You saw him nenga ato omuntu gwakuba era kuba Mangati. They had a battle between Mangati and Amza.
Yes.
Nenge era bali bagayi Patero ne Gomez bali mulegi yabwe. Nga Amza third best time bali bagayi wakola first and second nakola third best time. You can't compare until we're upgrading. Okay, that has been Muna, and I'm seeing lots of comments here about it, that declaration. Kale, if you got to phone your visual, subsequent programs of the podium, of course, to look to Sako Bantam. Okay, away from that, producer today, we have the MONTE-CARLO, Toyota very dominant in terms of Tira Kavala Hyundai. Na Kenya, totally dominating.
That's Sweden.
Sweden. Joe, clean sweep for Toyota.
I agree. Last week, Twaliwano, we talked about Solberg. And like I mentioned then, apart from going a bit early into WRC1, he went into what, in my view then, and still is now, a poor car, Hyundai. It's over the last 2 years, but Tanak, but Terry Nouveau, they have really struggled, and these are very, very experienced people. So it was no match in that area. Katibamo kwasiza a motor car which is a complete package. Machine. Nabalaga China woko, and I think anti-atuse. But MONTE-CARLO was a lucky day for. Basically it was night and day for Hyundai and. Toyota and Ford. Toyota and Hyundai and Ford really had misfortune the whole weekend. Then Toyota had a very clean sweep. Narabie comment here, Oje, my man Evans, he beats him so that he didn't push too hard. He just figured it is good enough to close up and finish, get the points and close the rally, especially when he found himself in the positions points times are really good enough. In my view, MONTE-CARLO to me was one of the slowest WRC events I've watched, especially this particular chapter. One of the slowest WRC events I've watched. Not to say if I'm actually watching the WRC event. Kubanga, I saw you. I think this weekend was really bad. But it was a good weekend for Toyota, and they truly deserved it, except for my man Sampayari, who buried into a tree very early.
I think with Joe's comment, you're the slowest. Those are rally 2 rally 3
Hey, rally 3 car.
It was stage.
Stage 14.
Yeah, we're going to stage B. Rally 3 car, you know, Jomogera company R5.
Yeah, Nikel Sachari.
But the issue of road positioning and the track in the WRC events, they're very, very clear. And for this particular rally, it spoke volumes, especially on Sunday. More evident, the fast cars will not only sweep, but they will clear. The market is sweeping out, Gundi, the slash. No clean ride.
Yeah, performance Takamoto Sutam shut down 5 rows and maybe I usually call because he did win it. He posted the time of 2 minutes and 31 seconds, 0.8 microseconds. In comparison to Oje, not 2 minutes and 33 seconds. The rows and Taka, okay. Next this show we are discussing about the teams. There's a Toyota, ina Takamoto Katsuta, Elvin Evans.
Yes.
Ye knows a cream de la cream yayo. Kubanga Oje agenda call a few events. I think he's doing 10 out of 14.
Yes.
So far because they came. Wari and Yama Dent in Erunia Chogela Kononti. Oje wa Wangula MONTE-CARLO. Najje Kenya. And last year he did selected and he won the championship.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he was third. So Toyota, Takamoto Kasuta, Elfin Evans. Then for Hyundai, there was Thierry.
Kasuta anajjawo Solberg.
You see, Bobala from a technical approach.
Solberg is single event.
Solberg is still.
There's a one good day. Rama Estonia last year. Estonia.
Awonze bwenjagalira Latvala as the principal. Get there, prove, show me what you have. But my man Kankunen has this approach. I've got these people who are my lead drivers. So Katsuta and Evans are the experienced people on the team, and they're the ones who have supposedly been groomed enough to lead. Evans is Mr. Consistent. Boba Chogera, he will always deliver. The guys who are there, Oje, Rovampera, they're not main equation. So you have Katsuta. The only issue now is that Oliver Achigena Chingiramu. And in my view, Payare might be let to go earlier because this is going to be his second season, full season, and his times are not bad. What he did in Saudi Arabia was not very bad, and I think he might be let to go to fight some, especially if Katsuta keeps having his misfortunes like he does.
So Payare is a mutagende
of course, Evans won the first stage. Taka wangu the shakedown. Evans now got stage here, so from the second stage, because we wangu the stage here, so Evans na kulembera rally. But from the second stage, paka ku stage ye 15. Olivier Solberg was the rally. Paka we he won 6 stages out zona but he led the rally from the second stage.
Estonia. Estonia bamulya stage so sigade na jana kasa yatekawo bwati. Yadda mabega.
Naye bobo akogera ku egundi ku Solberg. Ngomuza e Kampala one. Driver yakikoze la season.
Echachi.
Okuwangula stage, okumuya mu stage so kana wangula eziddako na dalala. Ne ndova mind categories don't am division ni muzime zafi.
I'll bank.
I'll see you tell you.
Ayenda tubulide.
Nani myaga come on. Should you say is it early for us kulikuloni kati ndio Solberg kati okuchamuka oba it's early days
kyemanye ekiddako nti Solberg kati ate Sweden jadda abanga ali waka okubanga Laudeko was born in Norway actually, not Sweden. He was born in Norway. They is Swedish. So rallying on ice and snow has always been his part. So abanga ziwaka snow. So maybe tujamujajinga nyondo zanga tumazo kuvanga Kenya. I don't know what you back so early kubanga championship try to be ko muntu akola performance in Nunji in Evans last year. Yezo nana jane Kenya na wangula yo manati achimaze na leading all through labalale we muvira ko mungalo
the last two
by so to tuyinza kubanga osanyuso kujako ayinza okuba ekituufu ennyo banga atulazeeko nti bw'aba asobola ovuga ice tamak nga bwe yavuze MONTE-CARLO ng'asobola okuvuga snow nga bw'anaamuvuga Sweden twatulabyeko ku gravel aba azize ng'omuntu ali balanced on all surfaces waliwo abantu tumanyi nti tugenza mu snow nti tukyuse tutugyewo ono tuteekewo ono so kinajjanga Oliver asobola otuwa ku surface esatu zonna ate n'asigaza omutwe kubanga kiduza abantu kyebadde basinga okweraliikira even on discussions ku forums nga tebeesiga nti kagenzaawo anaasobola okukwatirira till the end ali very bali bamanyi nga very erratic nindoza kano keyaddamu emyaka 2 n'adda wansi training ku rally 2 yakomyewo ng'ali more prepared ng'alina omutwe waggulu w'ensingo ye era olaga yakikola Estonia abantu balowooza sha eyo bajjamu ojjayisa speed test ya waggulu nnyo speed yajakola ensobi n'agenda maaso n'atagikola n'awangula neeno yabadde a very challenging surface tarmac ice yanazze n'akola ekintu ekito n'atakola era yazikoze naye nga ye ate tezimuggyako olwoti yakoze n'overshoot yanayingira fence omulala yagendayo yakwatirayo ye yagenze neyakyukirayo n'akola fence n'afuluma so ekisa gyabadde naye
Solberg yawangula stages 6 Oje n'awangulamu 4 Evans 3 Adrian Fomo 2 then Fontana Mateo n'awangulamu stages 2 the other
highlight of his life.
Evans had points Solberg points 3 power stage yawangulwa Evans
yes
Solberg n'abeera wakubiri he didn't need to win it anyway Oje yabadde wakusatu mu power stage era ne overall yabadde wakusatu Adrian Fomo yabadde wakuna ate nga ne mu power stage yabadde wakuna
Johan Russell
now wakutano power stage that point but 30 points out of a possible 35 good enough for Solberg.
I think so. I don't know. This year, are they still following format into the champion leader yatandika kubo?
Most definitely. Sichiwanti yakyuse.
Lwaki Solberg lwaki Oje teyatandise egundi MONTE-CARLO?
Friday si yagulawo.
Kanaman on the road.
Friday.
Yes, so why did watch Friday? It was the first. Okay, if that is the case, and Sweden is also snow. Then bwengenda ku terrain eyabadde MONTE-CARLO, then it puts Nani at a very big disadvantage in Sweden. But Ngabo Gambia, now his knowledge of the ground and terrain and everything else, and maybe other possible misfortune. In my view, I would like to look at the championship and everybody's capability after we get to the halfway mark. All sorts of terrains. Temperatures will have, points will have gone up and down, and they will have had moments of I'm leading, I'm now not leading, but I have a technical issue, I bounce out here. Then the pressure of the championship now starts sitting into the body. Then there we shall now sing the balance properly.
Solberg asinga Evans points nya, asinga Oje points 12, atenga Evans asinga Oje points 8, right? Let's get down to the manufacturers. Toyota dominating is this 1, 2, 3 even after leaderboard producer that what there was no sign of Hyundai. Atenga mbatirako ngojeko Sweden which is on 12th up to 15th of Feb. Safari Elio from the 12th up to the 15th of March. It doesn't favor them ever since the rally we come in Kenya. So if Toyota does the same kind of performance as Sweden, never replicating Safari. Tabwe good Hyundai this year.
And Ford is really struggling in there. They had a really very bad outing throughout the weekend. Although I was impressed with Armstrong. Yes. Yes. Martin Sesksa katono. But one guy I definitely miss the Darasi one car continuously is that guy called Martin Sesksa.
Yeah, so producer chifana chatwadde cha podium ya 1 2 3 ya Toyota ono Solberg ali wakati, second ya the Evans, third ya the Oje. Those he may not nesokole ataezo. My goodness.
Solberg avugane what? Edmond.
Yeah, Shakespeare agamba they are dressed to kill. Shakespeare agamba they are dressed to kill.
Interesting.
It's still kwagala. When you move ina ba sponsors ababe.
Yeah, Ojanabo. Oni aja ne Monster
we da amina.
Tambula naye. Benebe na babiko.
Ale chewunisa. Ate Monster si wako driver.
Asi wako driver.
What driver?
Oli ambassador we. Very possible.
Uganda.
The suit goes with the color livery. Wakati the car is
white and
red.
Yeah. So of course mu launch they showcase them they babikola naffe ndowooza it's high time when I come back to bikole yeah twabigezaako in Barra we last year maybe we can liveries for the drivers you do a photo shoot because WRC guys do a photo shoot bakola photo shoot they launch then ideas kasaziberawo never know ideas soka senezo kazija then we do kind of you have any flow ogenda ku X100 ya the X100 ya WRC FIA WRC championship ekulaga chronologically how the rally was flowing from the word from where tandise from the start paka era kati ba pin ekifaananyi kya producer kituwadde ekifaananyi kya Sweden as the next destination era all guys were never setting abaddawa but Sweden but too early to call. I want to ask who is an favorite this year but give Solberg his flowers. Yajjako mu Hyundai motoka bagamba for the betterment of the kuba bagamba echarger Citroen mu championship mu Chris Mick yakubanga chisisira banazimalawo nono mwana mberage nasula Hyundai wose bagamba second bike kaneke yazina WRC too as is shaked off all those things and he's won 2 events. Those are one of the 2 out of 2. Zabaddemu zonna. Are predictions for Sweden?
Me standards. EE. 100%.
No feeling.
Both feelings and actually. Well, the man was second. And he has some sort of consistency.
And he has more time, more experience than normal.
That's true.
So Evans, it's now or never for him. But we've said that for several times. Nobody championship bunji yawangula Thierry
osanga anadda kuluno. Omanyi bagamba the law of averages something will always happen. There is only that one time where it will go the other way. Kuba badakola
2 kasata ending up nga miko hivyo na
I think my current crop of drivers drivers in a second placings in the championship okay
wangu dine amenyewo lativela ne Ivoneni
ne trainers we up one calling ya Evans in administration kale we go in for break we'll get back after that. All right, so we'll be back from that short commercial break. It's the Podium to every single Monday from 10 p.m. to midnight, where we preview and review and in the world of motorsport. In our first segment, we had SINGH Jr. from Lusaka, Zambia, to share his biography, his comparison of cars, and motorsport in Zambia. Of course, tuweza kufuna email, but I think we've been hampered by the network. I noticed that we event here every day over the weekend. God willing to jump for next week. Be 2-way. Abaganda bagamba embozi teba nkadde kale na ero nejjo tuze Uganda kati a lot being talked about nalabe mu course of last week communication yava mu federation ngeraga nti this symposium ya motorcycling baji postpone to the 31st, which is this Saturday. Joe, being a member of one of the motorcycling clubs in Duro, Uganda, you guys are also hosting the first NRC, so first motocross event in this coming month. I don't know any infos on that.
Mbade sinaba kufuna information ntuufu naye kirungi nti ng'abategesi tulina meeting enkya era members b'Enduro mwenna tubasaba tulina meeting ya Enduro Club enkya ku office waffe wali ku saa 11 nde tutese ku event eyo ne plan za club omwaka guno tulabe we tubigusa nensobera event usually we take our events to Fort Portal or Mitiana now there might be a possibility of bringing it nearer home, like to Garuga or something like that. So after the meeting tomorrow and hearing from the event management team, tujja kusobola okuwumbaawumba n'okutegeeza abantu bonna what to expect. Naye it's the first motocross event. Ejja kubeerayo omwezi ogujja. I'm not so sure of the dates yet, but it will be the first one before, which is a good thing for the season. Tutandike ne motocross. Era nkubiriza nnyo abantu mujje mulabe ku pikipiki zinyuma.
Then Aaron, on the rallying side, we draft ziraga ntwina 8 NRCs. There's a lot of mixed feelings about that. Suppose about motorcycling, we yandibadde with us tentatively, you'd have the one of motor rallying where people meet and I've not attended one of motorcycling, maybe God willing this weekend I'll be there. Yeah, maybe during the tour, but rallying competitors come and give their views. Sporting Commission take notes. Agree on certain things. Okay, sometimes there's a win-win situation. I don't know what happens in motorcycles.
It's something similar. Most of the riders are below 18. But abasobola abaina kuwayo voice baje never wayo. But so a lot of rider parents are there and they're able to give their views. So there's a presentation, yes, of what is at hand, and you have an open discussion. The only disadvantage I see in a number of them is abantu tebafaayo nnyo okusoma n'okutegeera bino ebintu. They take them for granted. It's across the board. Symposium Jerry, you don't show up. Doboze, you are there like a statue. After the discussions have been held and resolutions made, maaseeyo lojjuke okutandika okuyomba okubemeza naye nga bakwadde opportunity okubeera nti oyogerayo, but it is good. But yes, nabo bawaayo. Only that this time there's not going to be a chance to enlist people who want to be officials. Kubanga it's also a requirement that right now ndoza mu motorsport wafe na mu motocross the officials nabo beyongere. Kubanga as a family element you can only come from the motocross world nga either waliko muvuzi or waina abavuzi or something like that. Then you become an official. But the training will also be provided for abantu bayige. But yes, it happens. It's just that abantu baga nnyo ochuwa time n'obwongo to focus on what these things are. Sometimes some of the issues that come are because of such lapses.
Rallying side, much talk about 8 events. Maybe to try to spread the sport. I think they are in tandem with the nationals, if that is the reasoning behind the National Sports Act.
I sound different.
Nti ekipande wakisoma bubi.
Ndowooza bulala. Obupande ntera obusoma obubi. Oba mpusoma bulala. Then I need to get about creating nze.
Kale 8 events.
Bo babadde na birowoozo ki actually kugamba nti bakreatinzeewo event national championship events zibe 8 kubanga nga okumanyi bwetuna mu region katugulira region ezitwetoolodde abamu n'omwaka tebaakozeeyo n'emu. Tanzania yabadde na zeeko
Kenya bakolemu.
In fact, alina bo championship bagenda giyita ya 2025 nenga bagivuga guno mwaka.
Kugidiimula ku 8 rounds nga tetunulidde nnyo bakompetita abateekamu sente zokugenda ozigikola okuva 8. Really, I don't know. Balina kubalina reasoning zaabwe. Bwe kiba kitika kya reason ya kuspreadinga sport nga mwami Bukenya bw'oyitinzeeko. Nze ŋŋamba era method yaffe y'okuspreadinga omuzannyo guno era ekyali wanting in a way. Jjo nja kubuuza bwe twagenda football last year kiki twaleka football kituyinza okutandikirako omwaka guno.
Is anything
left? The purpose ndowooza bubi oba ndi mukyalo ndowooza yange. The purpose of spreading the sport is for you to leave grassroots oba leave attachments mu febyo kitya nti ekibo gye mugenze mu creating eyo abantu be mujja okwerayo te creating ba marshals mu creating ba officers kitegeera in that cost cutting ejja kugirawa eno in the longer run next time ngoba omwaka emyaka 3 nga muzzeeyo abantu be mwali mulekayo mu bifo ebyo bajja kuba bakuze time ejja kutuuka nga you're not going to ferry marshals from Kampala to Fort Portal. You're not going to ferry safety officers from Kampala to Fort Portal. Ojja kubanga abaayo gye bali. What does that mean? Cost ojja kuba cutting the cost kubanga totekamu sente vani kutwala abantu Fort Portal. Wabe Fort Portal balina bwe basula togenda kutekamu accommodation waabwe nzo kuba osigaza facilitation yaabwe etali nene. Nekyo kye tuliko nti bwe tuba tugende Fort Portal sigamba Fort Portal yo empadeka example bwe tugenda wa kitukola kiri kimu okwata fire extinguisher n'ogijje Kampala n'okwata cash n'omujje Kampala n'okwata ero n'omujja Kampala n'okwata jo n'omujje Kampala ne musula team yonna ne mujikuba ekatakwi nekola event abekatakwi ne basanyukamu n'osula team yonna nga wagitutte n'ogize Kampala abekatakwi ne equipment yonna abekatakwi natasigaza not even a single registration nti ekatakwi twaleseeyo abantu 15 abera kuongezaako okuspreading omuzanyo ne bwe tutabeerayo nga gye balibo kyeto kyo jondo ojjukirako mu 2011-2012 nga tuli mu RFC twagezaako kukola ekintu ekyo watu twalina forces ezaziteekawo gundi naye njukira buli kifo twagendanga
nga tulekayo emirandira
offices oba twandikayo club gundi yes tuyinza okuba at the end of the day byatuukanga nebibanga byagootana at the end of the day naye but with the will abatutwala nze ndowooza kikyali badde kikulu so si kwongera ku event gamba nti twongere event zigende wide naye gye mulina kosofa kye mulinako gye mutuuka mukolayo ki
is it about I think if as a sport in my view we are to achieve this thing of 75% and spreading the sport in the entire country necessarily expanding national what you call national events or motocross events national motocross events national championship events is not the right
formula of yes
because you're developing the sport from infancy. I'll give an example. Other places where you need to start with sport disciplines in Nyangu, Salomzi, Ezeziri, which can easily be. At the end of the day, you have 146 districts in Uganda. You want the 75% coverage gives how many districts? 108.
About 108.
108.
Yes.
You have how many events? 8. As per the spreading.
You have 8 national motor rally events. You have 8 motocross events.
Yeah.
You have 4 autocross events. You have 4 circuits.
Yeah, are there 4 circuits? Mu Kampala, right?
You have 4 circuits.
You have 4 circuits. So if you get the map of Uganda and start Nojuk Bawao vis-a-vis the events Zoina, you may not be able to have that reach. And that is not what they envisaged in the act. It's not about what was the impact there. It's about the sport fully being there, even after
integrated,
the event is there and that's it. I'll give a very simple example about the way these guys do it here. For them, we've had these arguments before about having 8 regions, every region having different DFAs,
regional committees.
Yeah, regional, the DFA, Kayunga West Nile, they organize a district football league. Every district has a league. As long as I think you have the minimum is 4 teams. Recently, 2017, they had 4 teams to make Mpigi United, Mpigi FC to make a league. Round Robin, SINGH, and Jaco region, Buganda. Then finally get promoted. So at least there's some semblance of football from the grassroots negative by expanding the number. Maybe you have 9 rallying. Now, okay, what you call 9 rallying, predominantly rallying clubs. 9. You have 7 NRCs. In the recent past, 2 clubs have been sharing the same event, MOTORSPORT and MOTORSPORT. Maybe as a way of splitting, to call it Chikveo, MOTORSPORT away, MOTORSPORT away, but still Mbara doesn't have.
In my view, nga Aaron bwagambye fe akapande twakasoma bubi from the world gune tugwakataka kati tusigaddeyo. My take is this nti tukoze event 8 kubanga proposal ya fed tuna regions 8 therefore buli region tujiwa event emwemu. According to the regions which were approved in the constitution, yes. So therefore, the region to do event regardless of how it has been thought out. So oja kwesa nganti buli club ina event ina region baina bajiwadde ko gundi. But the most interesting thing is simanyi
region.
Yes, but anya inayo gundi
club yesalawo event yegendo genda federation yesalawo bagamba nti dex zezo tikati gwaddako kati MPU genda mbali gundi genda on.
I'll ask something. WRC is World Rally Champion. There are 14 events in 14 countries. How many countries are there in the world? Exactly. So what's the percentage of the World Rally Championship in the world? Percentage of countries covered?
But I think
20.
Tezuwe na 20 because they're over.
Boba chiza ku continental level as long as you're not continents covered. Africa, Kenya, South America.
And that's today kuchino chechimu tuno tuina look at WRC as national.
As national.
You don't reach
everywhere.
Na ye make sure neche chifo chota tukamu. Waliyo activity akala waliyo omaniyo representative waliyo Joe ali mu Uganda.
Last year Yasin bamutikide title year in a country I'd never heard of until they told I'd never heard of it until in Nosija Kolimba. Up now I can't pronounce the name. I'd never heard of it. I began looking for that country. You pronounce that name? That one. I'd never heard of it until I was told that's where they what?
They are
going to take place. I don't know what events take place there, what rallies, but I started looking for it because of that. But the fact that it was able to host an FIA, it means it's going to do what? It is going to be there. I know that this year it's going to be in China. But China has been on the F1 calendar. It has also been on the what? So basically, these are FIA countries with some FIA activities. That's why they're able to host these things. It has 14 events in 14 countries, but there are more than 200 countries in the world. But it's still called a World Rally Championship. In spreading the sport, tukute one size fits all. Motor rally, special stage rally, tuziteke buli wantu, which is not the case. Nabuza ko omuntu abama bakola survey. Mwagenda nga mutya nga munonya nti where motorsport has reached. Muno mwatugamba our rallies in these what districts nimuziogera Chotera, Masaka, what simanyi Gulu, Mbale, in years. And you reached there and go to the district office and say, have you heard about motorsport here? Omuntu gwobuuza, maybe where district sports office or where district chairman probably has never heard of motorsport. Or maybe yeah, they came here and they went away. So you've not left a print. Obuuziza ku kya Fort Portal. As an example, other than the feeding, tawali chetutaddeyo. Nate botuna spread the sport. It does not have to be motor rally, for God's sake. Nalabeka caption olwaleero nga aba street racing. Bejjamu eddobozi. Which to me, if our administrators are serious, they will listen to that thing. It has some sense in it. There's some sense in it. We can do different disciplines
in different areas.
I gave people an example. I was in Ajumani not too long ago, and there was a bicycle race. Bicycle Manigachefuba race at 5 o'clock. Bashan yali asawa 10. Ne hype. When people are mobilizing to go and watch, it is a very big. No, it is a serious championship. And the excitement about it is an annual event we are winding up. What does that mean? Tewali chitugana kuteka pichi as the cheapest start of, for example, nitokola grassroots. Nemo quarter, you call it slalom. Muna has been talking about they are what they call sprints, so you don't have to have a competition car.
In Uganda, well taught, well achieved,
Ibra. But Monaco Gambia, they are trying to do a championship where you don't have to have a rally car or a rally suit. Just have a seat belt and helmet. Fetch tegezant osobola kola ka track nga mubuwanvu ka mita bitano. Nenga the longest distance you have as a speed is maybe 100 meters. No, nezde na motoka yange nenjipak ngawali and I join. These things can happen all over the country. What does that mean? Timweba technical abava wano who understand these things. Linya basi yo, genda yo, funa gundi eliyo, basomese, you get a supervise, come back.
That's the purpose of the money given to us.
Exactly, that's what the money is supposed to do. Go and reach out. So at the end of the day,
the issue that we're going to change on. How the South Africans are doing it. For them, it's better national rally championship. Wow. No, take up this entry more. They can't even. But it's regional. Area kubuya how regional. Just scrutiny.
Go ko yaskunyari ku motoka yo
nembanga bali mu group rek and one day event where the day waka event dako gundi ategeka ngachi that alone it's for them they have sport across the entire
now lidde mukasanga agamba kati mvemba dala drive home ngende ekatakwe ku sente zange ku bintu byange. It does not make sense. But I know that there's Mukasa, there is Maya Haji.
Happy.
There's Happy.
Haji
Sempera Kakule. N'abantu bangi abali mu zone eyo.
Yasini Mukasa.
Abasobola okutandika regional gundi.
Katera.
Tofa Katera. Bayinza okubanga bo bajja kusobola region yaabwe. So chibategandi, it is possible to have this regional activity. Never motoka 5 kilometer and sample at the end of the day. If you want to do for the special rally, the cost becomes smaller, it becomes more exciting that way. At the end of the day, you qualify from there to the national.
One day event, start, finish, finish, start. What the price giving? But we
our manage of creating the regional COC, or creating the regional safety officials, or creating the regional time marshals, or creating the region you creating them all that. And
more importantly, ownership. Kubanga region I'll give my kajanjo varua. Bwetufuna yo muvuzi yo mobwat ngondu paraka weyajja. The whole region will be behind that person.
Because sense of belonging.
Hey, so belong. Against the regional, there will be like 2 buses, Nile coaches to come and support one guy. But you will have all the support, and that's what you need.
Kale, our time is up. Producer Gamanti, Akadekeko, it's not about having the national events come.
Enormous events.
Just that if you're going to expound, then that means you have 2 clubs. It's again a take events of the 9 motor.
Gym, every overseers.
They're so disqualifying clubs for poor performance, like Mbadala, isn't it?
For poor performance, poor performance.
But they did not meet the standards. They were supposed to go back and reboot. They have never rebooted.
That's all that for you guys. Monday. In the world of motorsports.